In the age of the internet, the bar has been lowered for all forms of media. It has never been easier to make your own music, your own movies, or your own games. But being creative is hard, and according to this guy, making new ideas is literally impossible. So, might as well steal. I mean, be inspired by. The world of fan games allows fans to explore their favorite IPs and flex their creative muscles. This is both a good and a bad thing. On the one hand, like I said earlier, the bar is lowered, so many fan games aren't as well made. And on the other hand, the absolute plethora of games means that there are a few that are surprisingly good. In the thousands of games, a few are bound to be diamonds in the rough. There's no shortage in variety, mutation, and absurdity. This leads to some of the wildest games I've ever played, so I wanted to play some of the weirdest fan games of some of the most popular real games, and here's what I found. Here we have a game that you guys have been screaming at me to play. Super bow noise, for real this time. Made by an absolute slew of people, many of whom working on sprites, and published by Puffball Speakerbox. There are a lot of sprites, and memes. The artwork and music are fantastic. I cannot understate how good it is. So many people worked on this and it shows. And while it can be a little disconnected, Mach 3 looks like Ren and Stimpy, while Mach 2 looks like Bo's about to play 6-bullet Russian roulette, that only adds to the wacky nature of the game. Wow.
Round meal serves 3 men.
And the music. Mwah! They put jazz in Pizza Tower. My 2 favorite things. It's jazz, baby, jazz. This game only has 2 levels. This is the problem with fan games. They're either bad, or if they are good, they're short. This game is a full conversion mod of PT, meaning gameplays-wise, it's exactly like PT. Exactly like PT. But who cares? These 2 levels are both fun and original. They would slot right in seamlessly into the base game. It's like a calzone, which isn't a pizza technically, but like seriously, it's just a pizza folded on itself, right? Maybe it's more like a Hot Pocket because of how small it is. Either way, it's clear that this game has talented artists and passionate creators with a deep understanding of what made the original Pizza Tower so fun. It's delightfully weird and filled to the brim with goofy shit. And while it's short, it's not trying to be a full game. It's only a fan game, and I think it succeeds in every aspect. 7 out of 7, 80? This got me thinking about why people make fan games. It's not like the people working on this made any money. They did it for the love of the game. They could have made something completely original if they wanted to. They have the talent, but they didn't because this is what inspired them. Even Pizza Tower can be considered a fan game for Wario Land. It definitely has an identity of its own, but it's not completely original. Nothing is. Even League of Legends, the most popular game of all time, is a fan game of Dota, which itself is a fan game of a mod of Warcraft 3, which is the 3rd installment of a game series inspired by a tabletop game called Warhammer, which itself was probably based off an old game called Chainmail 1971 by Gary fucking Gygax. D&D is why lesbian porn exists. Plants vs. Zombies Fusion. This is a game made by
several people.
It might seem hard to get, and I haven't gotten to Mandarin yet in my language learning career, so it might be hard to understand.
These are on. Oh. Oh, okay, that's, well, that one's on me.
If you want to try it yourself, just join the Discord. That's where I got it. This is a Plants vs. Zombies mod that adds plant fusions. The fusions add a lot, but ultimately this is just more of the same game, which is a good thing because Plants vs. Zombies is one of the best games of all time. There is some gameplay differences and new strategies introduced into the later stages of the game, like the original, but more in depth due to the added fusion mechanics. For example, in the first night levels, the tiny shrooms can be fused with the fume shrooms, but instead of making a new plant, it generates more tiny shrooms. This leads to an early game of deciding where to put your tiny shrooms, as they will be both your main damage and your main sun producers. The tiny shrooms can be fused with almost anything and make a smaller version of that thing. So generating a lot of them is useful, but you can only move one at a time, leading to chaotic, unsymmetrical boards. I don't know about you, but in the original, my lawn was always rows of the same plant. That's not an option here, as the zombies are more aggressive to counter the OP fused plants. We've got Omega Giga Gigantuars, Zombonis that turn into more Zombonis that are also bobsleds. We've got Led Zombleplin, and Michael Jackson! The real game starts in Odyssey mode, that's where all the crazy fusions are. But because of the translation, it's often hard to tell what it is you need to make. There is a wiki, but you need to unlock the recipes throughout the game, and the names of the plants are often different than what Google Translate shows. All in all, this mod is a fun extension of PVZ, but it's basically just PVZ, which isn't a bad thing, as PVZ is one of the best games of all time. It's like a tiny sunshroom. It takes a while to set up and to understand, but it's more of a good thing, with a fun twist. I give it a 7 out of 8. Fan games allow someone to realize their own ideas in an already established game, like adding fusion or using your own characters. Some franchises have such a large and colorful cast of characters that fans will often create their own characters. Take your pick: Sonic, Undertale, Pokemon, Cuphead, Homestuck? Point is that often fan games use fan-made characters and not the original IPs. Basically everyone has their own FNAF Sona, even Dan Povenmire's nephew?
I couldn't be more proud.
Fan games allow creatives to play their favorite games with their own DeviantArt OCs, or interesting redesigns, while often mimicking or straight up copying the gameplay. FNAF has some of the most popular fan games of all time, including a fan game made by its own creator. Is that still a fan game?
Am I mistaken? Is that not a fan game at this point? Isn't that just the game? Hello?
But I wanted something more unheard of, something that makes you question your sanity, something that has been out a little too long, something cursed.
I mean, the thing for Affinity. Not that weird.
Ordeal Shift by BRP. This shit is definitely a virus. It's an HTML file, so it's played in browser despite needing to be downloaded. But other than that, it's kinda good. The game is a carbon copy of most FNAF games. Defend the office. You have to either wear a mask or turn off the lights to drive them off. The game unfortunately is unbeatable, as some tasks get stuck and you can't finish them. I even counted how long each task takes, about 30 seconds, and this one got stuck forever.
Like, sometimes it's on advertised sites, sometimes it's on recharge power, but like it's definitely glitched. And I'm just going to like make the verdict to not play a glitch. I'm just gonna make the verdict and not play a game I can't beat because a glitch. Like, I want this to be good. Like you clearly have talent.
If the night reaches 7 AM, you die, and at that point I decided to move on. This isn't the only game from this creator. In fact, there's a sequel, and since the last game didn't work, here's hoping this one is better. It is better. It actually can be beaten, though it's really easy. Because the game is time-based and not task-based, there's no way of the game glitching and halting progress. You have to flash your light at the monsters to get rid of them, and take pills to keep your sanity while maintaining battery levels. The game only has 4 nights, and it's not that hard, but it's okay. The whole time you hear voices, sound cues for when the animatronics show up and move, and they say things like listen to the voices and burn it down, and in the end, you do burn it down. That's a nice little piece of storytelling. There is a secret and a semblance of a story. This is definitely the worst game out of the 3 I've played, but I think we need some perspective. Bo Noise was made by a team, even if it was a small one, and PVZ was a mod, as in it was already built off an existing game. This game was made from scratch in HTML, the art is done in MS Paint, and for MS Paint it's pretty good, and I've already said why I like the sound design, even if it is a bit too loud. Hats off to you, BRP, you may have my IP address anytime. Frankly, I'd just be more impressed if you managed to make a virus and a full game at once. That's all the fan games I've played. There are a million more and probably weirder ones out there. The fun things about these small internet indie games is their variety. There's always a freakier fish. Always. Yet with fan games, the work seems somewhat understandable, as we know the characters and settings. I think that's what makes fan games so popular and universal. They strike a balance between originality and familiarity. As a consumer, you get to play with your favorite characters, or even just your favorite game, more. And as a creator, you get to make without being lost in obscurity. I don't know how to end this video. Bye.